Here we are. It is the first quarter of No Huddle Necessary, and we have made it through almost a quarter of the season. Well, soon we'll make almost a quarter of the season. Now with the 17-week thing, it doesn't ever work out evenly anymore. Introduction to fractions, kids. Look into it. So, we're going to talk about what we've seen so far and what our biggest takeaways are. And I will start with the first shall be the last. I will start with my man, Mr. Melo Williams. What are your biggest takeaways so far, sir?
Okay. All right. The biggest takeaways that I'm taking away this from week 3 is that the Miami Dolphins, we have to take them as being legit right now. From having a steady offense that they haven't, and the defense, I believe that's playing, remarkable. I believe that Miami, and with the wins that they have had so far this season, it showed a lot of character, and I believe we have to give Mike McDaniels, the head coach, credit for instilling his beliefs and the way he do things, instilling his culture, I should say, in Miami. After everything that's been going on with them and the Brian Flores situation, bringing in Tyreek Hill. So I believe that, Mike McDaniels has to get a lot of credit for, this some of the success, but most of the credit has to go to the players because they out there making the plays, starting with Tua and those guys, Waddle. And like I said, Tyreek Hill. So Miami, we definitely have to take those guys serious. Something else that I'm taking away from week 2 is that Philadelphia Eagles is probably the best team in the NFL right now. Jalen Hurts is playing. He's playing great. With the addition of AJ, that definitely helps, like it will any quarterback. However, Devontae Smith, he's balling. He balled out of control against the Commanders in week 3. So seeing the progression, of Jalen Hurts with the coach Sirianni, I believe that's how you say his name. Philadelphia is looking very good. I believe they have the number 1 ranked defense in the league right now. So as long as that offense can continue to put up points on the board and that defense continues to play the way that they're playing, I believe Philly is gonna be a team that we probably gonna see deep into January. The other thing that I'm gonna take away real quick is the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys to be the divisional foe, a divisional rival on the road in New York. Lawrence Taylor was in the house. The crowd was going crazy. It was a live atmosphere. It felt like a playoff game. It had that type of, feeling to me, that type of energy. The players stepped up, when they should have. So I believe that Dallas has been showing a lot. Cooper Rush has definitely been doing his thing. Definitely have to give respect to that. So Micah Parsons didn't have the game that we thought that he was going to have, but he was still effective. The defense still stepped up and played well. It is a team game, So I definitely have to take the Dallas Cowboys and give them a shout out as one of my week 3 takeaways.
Okay. And I'm going to move on to the first of the 2 Steves. I'll go with Steve Atkinson. What are your main takeaways from this point in the season?
All right, so I'm going to stick to the Patriots, and I'm going to I think Matt Patricia needs to go. I think he's hurting the development of Mac Jones. I don't believe that Jacoby Myers didn't play on Sunday because of a leg injury. I believe he didn't play, in my opinion, because he told Mike Giardi last week before the Steelers game that he questioned the direction of the offense. So I believe then all of a sudden he misses practice leading up to the Ravens game, and then he doesn't play. So I don't believe in the leg injury. Second is Devontae Parker. So he had a better game on Sunday. However, he is a Matt Patricia guy. Director of Player Personnel Matt Groh told the media during the NFL draft that Patricia wanted Parker. He likes Parker. Crazy how he's getting all the targets and snaps while Kendrick Bourne is not getting enough. And Mac had to force it to Parker multiple times in week 3. Yes, he had a better game, but he also had a key interception that was his fault in the end zone. And the injury to Mac Jones finally is on Bill and Patricia. If he had better protection, played the receiver, and they played the receivers that were best for the team, he wouldn't have gotten hurt. For example, they have practice squad players, little Jordan Humphrey in the game, instead of guys sitting, like that are getting Malcolm Butler. For example, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers. I believe if Kendrick Bourne was in the game more and he had better protection, he wouldn't have gotten hurt. And they would have been going down the field with the lead, and they wouldn't have had to chuck it up so many times, forcing Mac Jones to get hurt on Sunday. And now he has a high ankle sprain and probably out for the foreseeable future.
Okay. And with that ray of sunshine, I'm going to follow up our first Steve with a second Steve to wash that down.
All right. I'm going to just kick things off and try to keep up with the assassin's pace. So watch out. I've loaded my clips today. The Las Vegas Raiders, the Vegas-style wedding car of Devontae Adams. Is the honeymoon over week 3 in 0-3? Or is it the father-in-law coach the issue? Who's going to go first? How about them Jaguars knocking out the Chargers? No offense, sorry about that. But are they for real? They might just be. And in the division they're in, it might just be ripe for the picking for them. The Jaguars might be for real. Number 3, my takeaway. Maybe the Cowboys are realer than I gave them credit for it at the start of the year. And maybe Cooper's better than Dak. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe I should stick with him. He's undefeated. And then also my last take of the week is my home team, the Vikings, actually proving resilient, coming back not once but twice from double-digit deficits. The first time in the first half, down by 10, equalized that score, and then immediately came out in the second half and allowed themselves another 10-point hole and climbed back out of it to find a victory within the jaws of defeat in the final minutes. Who doesn't love that when your team you want wins in the end? That's all you care about is a W. No, it was not pretty. It was rather ugly. But the bottom line is the team didn't fold. The team saw opposition and rose to the challenge and met it. So that leaves me hopeful for the future of this season for Purple. That's my take for the week on my biggest takeaways.
Okay. So it's clear, Brock, that people have seen you as the mark they should aim for. So Steve A opens by firing a coach. Then Steve R decides to just start chopping heads. So clearly you've had an effect on the direction of the show already, Brock. So let's see if the people who are chasing Brock can catch the real Brock. So here we go. Take it away, Brock.
Well, first, I would like to start by saying in this segment, I will not be calling for the firing of any head coaches, surprising as that may be. Also, Mr. Steve Rogers, second straight week of Fire Fit, looking great. And we play in fantasy this week, so I'm looking forward to a great matchup. Now, getting back to my biggest takeaways, I agree. The Jags are legit. I had the opportunity to see them live. I was at SoFi Stadium this weekend, and there's no doubt about it. They've made every right decision. The defense is performing at a phenomenal level, almost reminiscent of the Saxonville days, just they don't have the talent as much as they did back then. But in a weaker AFC South, that may not matter at this point. To me, they are clear division favorites. Trevor Lawrence is slowly making his way to being a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. The offense that they're running is really simple but effective. It's about getting the ball out to open space, feeding Robinson, ETN out wide, getting the ball out of Lawrence's hand under 2 seconds. It's very effective, doing great things over there. Zay Jones, a surprise. Christian Kirk, a bigger surprise. Those contracts will be paying off, so well done to Doug Peterson. The Jags are legit. Going to who the Jags are playing this week and Peterson's old team, the Eagles. When you look at offensively, they have no weakness. Jalen Hurts has shut the critics. I was never one of them, I do want to add. But he did have a lot of critics. He's shutting them up. They have one of the best receiver cores in the NFL. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. How can you get better than that? Running game is phenomenal. Their offensive line performing at a high level, and their offensive line, like the Super Bowl year, has a tremendous amount of depth. So when you look at that, Dallas Goedert, of course, playing at a phenomenal level as well. They have no weaknesses. I expect them to go on and win the division. The Bills need Trey White now. Unfortunately, they lost Micah Hyde for the season. Jordan Poyer was banged up last week. if they want to make that late playoff push, they got exposed in Miami. Of course, it's still young in the season, but they do need Trey White now, and they need him to play at a phenomenal level. It also seems that whenever Josh Allen goes down to the state of Florida, something seems to happen. We've seen it this week against Miami. Last year, he lost in overtime to Tampa Bay, and then we all remember that 6-9 loss to Urban Meyer and the Jaguars last season as well. If you're looking to become a head coach in the NFL, do not become an assistant under Bill Belichick. Again, the Bill Belichick assistants proved to show that they are not capable of being head coaches. Matt Patricia was a disaster up in Detroit. Going back to my boy Steve A, he hit it right on the head. He is ruining that Patriots offense up in New England right now. Josh McDaniels, we can go into that a little bit later, but we all see what's happening. And going back to Brian Flores, when he got fired from Miami, that raised some eyebrows, and those eyebrows are not raised anymore. Mike McDaniel has done a phenomenal job down there. Not only has he brought a phenomenal offense and offensive philosophy to Miami, they're just playing at a high level all over the field. Of course, he still has that Brian Flores defensive elements, but he's putting it all together. McDaniel shows how to nurture a quarterback, how to coach a quarterback, how to bring a quarterback along, something that Flores failed to do in his multiple years in Miami. And then lastly, you look at just from a cultural standpoint, bringing in Sam Madison and Patrick Tan, that's something Flores wouldn't have even thought of doing. That just adds to the culture of the Dolphins, and it just shows that Patriots guys aren't cut out to become head coaches in the NFL. Last thing I want to say is that when it comes to the new head coaches, Nathaniel Hackett is a hack. I think that's something we all know. You have to hire a coach to literally do his job, right? So he could go back to being an offense coordinator while getting a head coach's salary. The Broncos have no reason to be 2-1. They should honestly be 3-0, and they could also be 0-3 if you look at the way they're performing. They had a very cupcake schedule to start the season. I expect that to flip for the Broncos shortly. Going to Chicago, Matt Eberflus as a trivia candidate for Coach of the Year. That team, they all expect to have the number one pick. They traded away a lot of the great players. They're going to have over $100 million in cap space next season. And guess what? They have the same record as the Denver Broncos at 2-1. They're playing the Giants next week, who are also 2-1, surprisingly. If they win that, they'll be 3-1. That's a great position to be in, especially for that franchise. When you look at their running game, one of the best in the league. We can break down the running game a little bit later, but they are opening up holes all across the field. You know you're doing something right when your backup running back goes for like 150 on the ground. Justin Fields is in a great position. They had a great game in Green Bay, the game that they lost for a majority of the game until obviously they let it go at the end. The two victories are hard-fought wins. Roquan Smith will be getting his deal, and it will be a lot more for whatever they were talking about in the beginning of the season. And the Bears are a team to watch out for to kind of make that weird wild card push. So those are my takeaways for the NFL so far.
Yes, so I think everybody got off some good stuff there. And the Bears have sort of backed their way into discovering who their best running back was all along. Khalil Herbert, no offense to David Montgomery, who's a solid, does everything well all around back. It's just more talented. He's faster. He's more explosive. His vision is just as good, but he can get to things. They both see it. The difference is one guy can get there, right? Not everything's about speed, but some things are. So it's good that they finally get a chance to get some big plays in the running game that you simply couldn't get from a guy like David Montgomery, who is solid but kind of a plotter. This guy is a sub 4.5 running back. They haven't had a starter who's sub 4.5 since I don't know. I mean, Tariq Cohen wasn't like a starter. He was like a 4.41 guy, but he was a third down back. So like their main back being that fast. I mean, even Walter was a 4.55, 4.54 guy. So you got to go back a way. Matt Forte was like 4.53. So you got to go back a ways. Maybe Dennis Gentry. No, Gentry was the third down guy. So it might be the first time in a long time the Bears have had actual speed at the running back position. And guess what? It works. Okay, so we're going to keep going. I'm going to go back to you, Brock. Tell me about the players that made the biggest impression on you.
All right, so kicking it back off in Miami, and because he is on my fantasy team, guys, go with Jalen Waddle. Of course, the big wide receiver addition this year was Tyreek Hill, and I had a feeling that was going to open up Jalen Waddle as well. It had 342 yards in 3 games, also with 3 touchdowns. I expect bigger things from the Alabama man. Going out to Detroit, Amon-Ra St. Brown, also on my fantasy team, putting in the work. 253 yards, 3 touchdowns, an absolute weapon. And if you think about it, Jameson Williams has yet to play an NFL snap. When he comes back, that's going to open up Amon-Ra way more. With that Detroit running game they got right now, he's going to be able to eat in a lot of different ways. Going out to New York, how about the duo, Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones? I made a prediction that if Saquon went to the Bucs this year, he'd be an MVP candidate. Many people are telling me you're out of this world. He's rubbish. He's trash. He's gone already. Well, he showed you last week that he is far from that. 317 yards on the ground already, averaging over 100 a game, 2 touchdowns, still has that breakaway speed. If he has an O-line like the Chicago Bears, maybe he would have a little bit more. But, of course, that offense is slowly coming underway. Well done to him. Daniel Jones, how about resurgence out of him? He's throwing the ball with great accuracy. He's getting sacked and not giving up the ball. That game-losing interception was not his fault. Obviously, David Sills, the fifth, fell down on that play, so it is what it is. But if you look at his stats, 560 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns. He's got no weapons right now. Obviously, Sterling Shepard went out on the final play with torn ACL. K. Gaudet is playing like his contract should be worth $72, not $72 million. He doesn't really have a strong tight end at the moment, and he really has no weapons, and he's balling out. We could finally see that Daniel Jones we expected to see from a long time ago. One guys got to shout out Lamar Jackson, bet on himself, and it is paying dividend. In Baltimore's 3 games, they have put up 37 against the Pats, 38 against Miami, and 24 against the Jets in the season opener. Right now, he's passed for over 700 yards. He's rushed for 243 rushing yards. He has 2 touchdowns on the ground, 10 touchdowns to the air to only 2 interceptions, a 5-1 TD to INT ratio. He already has 1/3 of the rushing yards he had last year already through 3 games. He's going to get paid a lot. And my last guy, I got to shout out real quick. DeAndre Swift, 200 yards, averaging 10 yards a carry. Jared Goff, even better TD to INT ratio, 7 TDs, 2 interceptions. Dan Campbell's building something great. I got to show some love to the big boys in the trenches, the Polynesian greatness. Jordan Mailata, he deserved that contract last year. He's absolutely hammering defensive ends into the ground. Great performances by all those guys.
I love what you said real quick.
It's its own bullet point.
me when I lie.
I love when people deliver irony straight-faced. Okay, so what the heck? We'll shake it up. Melo, my man, you get to go follow that diatribe, that dissertation.
Well, at least it wasn't
Let's
like
go. Let's go. It was close to it. He was close to Mike, the playmaker. But okay, I'm gonna start off with Lamar Jackson. I'm gonna call out a name that Brock said as well. Definitely got to give love to Lamar Jackson. He, like Brock said, he betted on himself. He's still betting on himself. So far, the way he's playing this season, it might be better than his MVP season. So far, last week he threw for 218 passing yards, 4 TDs, 1 interception, rushed for 107 yards. He became the first player in NFL history with 3 passing TDs and 100 rushing yards in consecutive games. So you definitely got to think that Lamar Jackson is probably in the lead for MVP race, but we'll talk about that later as well. Got to shout out Jalen Hurts. I shouted him out earlier, but I'm going to dive in a little bit more about him. You know, he's been impressive again. He's completed 67% of his passes, got 916 passing yards with 3 TDs, and he has a QBR of 106. You know, so we can always talk about things that help quarterbacks get better. I really don't know a quarterback that has great numbers and was good without a good wide receiver and an offensive coordinator. You know, talent is always vital, but it's always about, you know, the system and play calling and things like that. And when offensive coordinators know how to call the game plan according to your strengths and does that more than exposing your weaknesses, you know, any quarterback or anyone will serve well when they have that type of situation set up for them. And the last one I'm going to shout out real quick is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is balling. Got to give some love to Doug Peterson. I don't know if we watching something that's probably never been done before happen, but Doug Peterson made the magic happen in Philadelphia. You know, he had a little stint real quick in Indianapolis before taking his head coaching job in Jacksonville over Urban Meyer that just left it in a dump fire. You know, so the job that Doug Peterson been doing down there and being a quarterback coach himself, You can tell he's been working with Trevor Lawrence and helping with his development. So Trevor Lawrence has a QBR of 115 right now. And with that offense and that defense, like Brock said as well, I totally agree. This could be a dark horse team in the playoffs.
Okay. See, when you say real quick, you actually mean real quick. So now we get a chance to see what that actually looks like.
That was like the same amount of time. You just try to throw me under the bus. Come on now.
I love how you also worked in your fantasy team too. Brock, this might be the week that you've exposed.
3-0 right now. Dominate, number one seed.
Yes. I'm going to insert a segment called Humble Brag later, but we haven't gotten to the Humble Brag segment yet, Brock. Now we're going to come to our completely trademark infringement-free captain, Steve Rogers.
All right. Well, we got to work on getting a shot clock out here for some of these answer response times. So I'm gonna stick with the quarterbacks too. I guess Melo and I was looking over each other's shoulders and writing the same notes. So I'll paraphrase mine down a little bit. So my answer will actually be relatively short as well. Number one, I had Jalen Hurts shining again, continuing to look like he's going to keep the Eagles in full flight. They look like they're on fire and possibly unstoppable, and maybe the best team in the NFC, if not the league. So there's that. And then again, like Melo mentioned, I've got the Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, that flow, the glow. And Doug Peterson seems to be the quarterback whisperer. He can win a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, and now he can turn around a redshirt-yeared Trevor Lawrence, or is it a super senior season with Urban Meyer, whatever you want to call that, whatever it was. I blame Urban Meyer the lack of coach. I don't think he should be coaching humans at anything. Lamar Jackson is my number 3 for this week. Again, shining Mr. MVP himself, banking on himself, and is totally overachieving anyone's expectations. And frankly, probably even more so with the statements that were put out just before the season by Anonymous that he's not a real quarterback no matter how many MVPs he wins. Well, watch him win all a dozen of them that you said he's going to and still be the better quarterback that you don't think he is. That's my quarterbacks and takeaways and best players for this week.
And we'll bring it on home with our bonus, Steve. Steve A. Let us know what impressed you most.
All right. So I'm again going with Trevor Lawrence. I agree with the other two guys said. He had a really bounce back year so far this year. Again, with the head coaching change. It's funny how when you have an offensive coach and an offensive system that actually knows what he's doing, good things happen. And I see that with Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars with that impressive win over the Chargers on Sunday. Sorry about that, man. But they're the team to watch for, I'm telling you, going forward. Second is Tua. I think he's having a great year, too, just because of the coach Mike McDaniel. You look at the offense and the Kyle Shanahan thing's working. Mike McDaniel actually knows how to run it, being with Kyle Shanahan in the 49ers. So Tua's having a good year too. And Tyreek Hill, again, he's on another level. It doesn't matter if he's with the Chiefs or with the Dolphins. He's always going to make plays. And I saw that little clip he's had this past week. He's looking forward to Eli Apple, and that's going to be a game to watch too coming up.
Okay. We're going to have our first commercial break, and then we'll begin our second quarter.
The Team Nuts and Bolts Sports Store is officially open. Log on to www.teamnbsmerch.com and get your t-shirts, hoodies, polos, all sizes available. Once again, log on to teamnbsmerch.com. Get yours today.
So we got to hear about who was the most impressive. Now we get to move on who's the most depressive, I guess. I'll stick with you, Steve. Pick one team and one player, one of each, that you feel like really, really, really let their fan base down, themselves down, everybody down.
I'm going to go with the Las Vegas Raiders falling to 0-3. You get Josh McDaniels. You get all of this talent in the offseason. they call it the Patriot South up here, the Las Vegas Raiders, because of all the former Patriots that went to the Raiders. And there's no excuse why that team is 0-3. You're right, Brock. The Belichick coaching tree does absolutely suck. It's funny how, Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, they all suck. But Kyle Shanahan is doing good. Sean McVay won a Super Bowl. Mike McDaniels 3-0. All of this, right? So it's very interesting to see the old way is not the right way, and the new way, the new offenses, the younger coaches are having more success. So, and my player is Hunter Henry. Again, like I said last week, you signed these two tight, well, John Smith too, but Hunter Henry signed this big tight end in the red zone. Where the hell is he? Like he has made 2-3 catches. I think he was targeted twice last week. He made 1 catch. We got to get the tight ends in more, and hopefully with Brian Hoyer playing Sunday, he's in the game more because you sign all these tight ends for millions of dollars, and they're not being productive.
Okay. And what the heck? We'll give people double Steve trouble again. Same question to you, Steve Rogers.
Oh man, it's a tough for me I had again 3 quarterbacks who I had laid out for disappointment this week.
Choose one of them.
Oh, there. It's so much fruit to bear from. I guess I will stick with the easiest target for me, the guy that I will always be targeting and throwing shots at and shade for no apparent reason. It's Jimmy Not So G himself with the walk-off safety and still throw a pick 6 in the same play. It doesn't get any more definitive of how ineffective he is right then and there in itself. The team I'm going to have to say that I'd go with is I'm actually going to probably ruffle some feathers here, but I think Tampa Bay Buccaneers looks like they might actually be in trouble. Tampa Bay Tom might have some chinks in his armor, along with all the injuries that keep occurring around him. It's just eroding his ability to do anything because he can only control so much by only being able to throw the ball if no one's available to catch it. He can't run and catch it himself, that's for sure. So good luck to Tampa Bay.
So we know that you and Gisele Bundchen agree at least one area.
Oh, I should probably stay at home.
Right. You both seem to believe that he can't both
By the
throw
time
it.
he comes home, it might be still an empty home.
Yes, it might still be an empty home. What was it somebody said about the Green Bay Tampa Bay game that the loser had to call their family? But yes, that brings us down to my Melo, my man. Give us your one most disappointing player and team.
Okay, I'm going to start off with Josh Allen. Even though he had a great game, he threw for 400 yards, 2 TDs. But the time that he let his team down, crunch time like that, and the throw that he made that let the team down, was even more disappointing for me, being a Josh Allen fan. So for me, I definitely got to say Josh Allen number 1. That was a game that, had mistakes throughout I saw a lot of bad clock management with Josh that game. Some erratic throws that was, could have been picked off, wasn't picked off. A couple was though. No, I don't believe he had any. However, I saw some erratic throws, some bad clock management, and just like total meltdown. I should have saw at that point fourth and goal. I would expect to see someone that, he's been through big games before. So, I know there was heat, and all the heat elements and things like that. But just the way that it ended, it didn't look well for me. The other one is Tom Brady. I'm sticking with the quarterbacks right now again. Tom's terrific. We didn't expect to see Tom Brady let the game slip away like that. At that time, going for the 2-point conversion. I mean, made a great drive, come back. It was definitely lived up to the hype. And then, because of poor clock management, not paying attention to what's going on, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ended up with the delay of game, made the team, take the penalty, lost yards, and what could have probably been an easier 2-point conversion turned into, a lot harder 2-point conversion attempt, especially against that Green Bay defense that is balling right now, and I can only see that them getting better, So got to say Tom Brady was a disappointment as well. And I got to go home with the last one with Mitch Trubisky. Only 2 TDs all year through 3 weeks. It's totally acceptable. He's scared to play. He's scared to go downfield. He's scared to take chances. So, when the team and defensive coordinator that a player is self-checked, he's mentally self-checked, they're going to confuse him. They're going to throw the book at him. And that's exactly what's going on with teams and defenses that Pittsburgh. So Mitch Trubisky definitely was a letdown. He had an okay game against Cleveland, but he also was a lot of his garbage time and things like that, and just catches that made his bad throws look a lot better. So it's time for Pittsburgh, Mike Thomas, to just make the decision, move on, let the rookie Kenny Pickett come in and get some experience, or at least give Mason Rudolph a week or two if you're not ready for Kenny Pickett. But I don't see why you would go to Mason Rudolph and not go to Kenny Pickett. So
it's Pickett time.
Okay, so I'm going to reiterate: choose one player, one team. So throwing a flag on Melo, my man, for having not quite followed directions. But we're going to go now to the man himself, who we know will turn the blowtorch on. Mr. Brock Vierra, give us your disappointing player and team.
All right, since I'm limited, I will start with the player. To me, it's Darren Waller. I mean, my goodness, did he look mundane against Tennessee. And since he's been given this big contract, can we truly say he's lived up to being that top 3 tight end player? I can't really say he has been. I mean, I remember that open pass against Tennessee. He tried to one-hand like OBJ when you just do this and you catch it, right? So he's been really, really bad to start the season. Maybe it's because he was holding out. I'm not sure. But he's the player that's really kind of lived below expectations in an offense at a team that has played fairly poorly. For the team, I can kind of debate between the 3 teams in the AFC South that aren't the Falcons, the Panthers, the Saints, and the Bucks, because I can say everything about all 3. I gotta go with the Bucks. I mean, I guess Dallas, they did have a good win, but they didn't look fairly impressive in that win, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Last week against New Orleans, you can say the same thing. I get Mike Evans was out this week against Green Bay, but again, Tom is the age is showing, which I would like to say during the 8th annual Mockapalooza mock draft, I was saying that, and thus I was loading up Tom with as much weapons as I could, and I was getting shit on for it. But that's all right. What do I know? More importantly, the Bucks just seem out of sorts. I expected to kind of bring it together, but they've been kind of disappointed when you expect them to be a 1 or 2 seed at the end of the season. And I just want to shout out Kyle Shanahan real quick. How does your coaching tree produce so many great coaches? Super Bowl champion McVay, McDaniel's killing it in Miami. You got the LaFleurs, right? Matt LaFleur up in Green Bay, and then obviously his brother out in New York, Robert Saleh, and the Jets have at least something kind of happening there. It's not I'm saying they have success, but they're at least exciting to watch, which is pretty new for Jets fans for a while. I'll be honest, I have a niece, and if I gave her a sheet of paper, like 5 sheets with different formations, and give her a crayon to start drawing, she could probably draw up better plays than Kyle Shanahan can at the moment. Jimmy G is one thing, but that offense, even with Trey Lance, was not putting up more than 11 points. That's it is what it is. You have Debo on one side, Ayuk on the other. You got speed all over the field. You got Jawan Jennings, who we all remember from that great Tennessee catch down in Athens, right? He's a baller. You got a really good running back room, an offensive line that's still pretty decent. I know Trent Williams got hurt, but besides that, they're still pretty good. You can't move the ball effectively. You're not doing anything, right? Juszczyk just looks like a blocker now. Ever heard of a Texas route? Try and run one of those once in a while. Kittle's like around, like just doing his thing. Like, get the man the ball much more often. You will have success. It doesn't matter if you put Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Jimmy G, or even Otto Graham in that offense. That thing ain't going anywhere, and Kyle Shanahan needs to ask some questions because though he's been to 2 NFC Championship games, his time in San Francisco has been pretty underwhelming when you look at the talent that the man has had. Also, my niece, if you want to hire her for offense coordinator, I am her agent, so I will be taking some of that fee. Thank you.
So every once in a while, I think I know what's coming, and then somehow you surprise me. So somehow, Kyle Shanahan, after getting all this praise, 1 for developing coaches, 2 for leading the 49ers, of course, to heights they haven't reached since George Seifert was there. And then he somehow manages at the end to wonder if maybe it's time to move on from Kyle Shanahan.
I'm not saying move on. I'm saying call better plays. I'm saying, you know, if like you play LA this week and they're gonna run the ball all over them like they always do, which I expect, right? But come on, man. Like, you think Denver has a better defense than LA? Really? All right. You think Russ has been cooking? All right. You're cooking garbage. You're cooking trash. All right.
Okay. This feels
he's been cooking to feed future's kids. That's what he's been doing.
Okay. So I don't know if I should do this, but I guess I'll be sticking with you, Brock, as we move into the next question. So give me one game you're excited about in this upcoming week, and give me a particular player that you think will be a star, like someone who will truly break out in this upcoming week's games.
So I'm going to go with the Thursday night game, Dolphins at Bengals. I think the Bengals are going to win, and they're going to reestablish themselves as one of the top teams in the AFC. I think the Dolphins get knocked off their high horse. And the star for that game, I'm going to go with my number 2 running back on my fantasy team, Chase Edmonds. Came through for me big last week with 2 rushing touchdowns. I expect a big performance from him again. I think the Miami will get into the red zone, but they won't be able to pass effectively when they're there. They're going to have to swing it to a guy and get out into open space. Edmonds is that man, and thus I expect him to break out and be that star for that game.
Despite my attempts to move the humble brag segment of the show to later in the show, Brock refuses to get off of his fantasy team. Okay, so I guess we'll just have to soldier on. That brings us now to, what the heck, Steve Rogers. You get to follow that interesting segment.
Well, all right. I had picked really 3 nice, juicy games. I thought he sort of covered one of them. I believe that I had. No, he didn't. Never mind. So I will just stick to my home game. That's heading off to London, where we get to basically be a home team on the road. Or both teams going to be on the road, but it'll be feeling like a home team with the European crowd so heavily favoring being Vikings fans. The fandom is heavier there almost than it is here in our own country outside of Minnesota. But that's fine. The Skull Chant will be roaring, and they will feel at home, and they will run away with a game that I have been thinking was definitely going into the season was going to be one of the scarier games, because I thought New Orleans was going to be a better team than they have shown up so far to be. So as long as they continue to tread water and struggle themselves, I think the Vikings have an opportunity to take advantage of a team that hasn't figured it out and gotten their stuff together, where they haven't really gotten it together either, but they have more of it going. So that's my matchup. And I think Justin Jefferson gets off the snide and has a big game and is one of the stars of the week because of the big game that he has against the Saints.
See, that's how you do it. Efficient. Okay. And, since people like Steve's, and who doesn't like Steve's, let's go to Steve Atkinson.
So I'm going to go with the Chiefs and the Bucks. I believe I kind of agree with everyone with the Tom Brady. I think the Buccaneers are getting the Tom Brady version of 2019 when he was checked out from the New England Patriots and he wasn't really into it. I think that's what we're seeing throughout the beginning of the season. I think the star player of that game my opinion, is going to be Patrick Mahomes. I think he is going to shred the Tampa Bay Buccaneer secondary in that defense. I don't think Tampa has a shot in this game. They do have a shot because they have Brady, but I think Patrick Mahomes is too good, and he's the best quarterback in the league. And I think he's going to put on a show on Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And the other slice of bread on the other side of the Steve sandwich, my Melo man.
Okay, I'm going with the Buffalo and Baltimore game. I'm going to Lamar Jackson, the Josh Allen matchup. Again, 2 of the best quarterbacks in the game right now. They both came out the same draft class. They both is probably top 3, top 5 for sure. If there was an MVP vote right now, but in the MVP race, they both are definitely top 5. Buffalo Bills is coming off that loss to the Miami Dolphins. Josh Allen more so probably feeling more responsible for that loss more than anything. They signed Xavier Rose earlier to try to help with that defense. Took a hit with Micah Hyde being out for the year. So I'm sure the other defenders is coming back as well. So I'm looking forward to that game. The star of that game, though, I got to go with Lamar Jackson himself. I believe that without Lamar Jackson, Baltimore will probably be 0-3 right now. But with Lamar Jackson, they're definitely one of the best teams in the league. He's balling out of control. I don't see him slowing down. I do see Buffalo challenging him, making him work. But he just came off playing against a Bill Belichick defense, who I always have respect for. And he played fairly well, or great, I should say, actually, against that defense. So I'm looking forward to Lamar Jackson having a big day against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
Get off my note.
We're going to have our next quick break, and then we'll get to the third quarter. I will go back to Melo Williams. So, two-parter question. Give me a team that has one or maybe even fewer wins, but no more than one win that you think will still make the playoffs. And then give me a team that has two or more wins that you believe will not make the playoffs. And take it away, Melo.
I'm going to go to Chicago Bears as a team that will not make the playoffs. I'm going to start there first. I'll see what's going on. I heard Brock talk about what they was doing earlier. The defense is playing pretty good. They're. I just don't see the Bears really sustaining what's going on. I'm looked at the record earlier. With the way Detroit is playing, Minnesota's playing, that NFC North is still going to be a division. That's the Chicago Bears are going to have to make it through first. So I'm going to start there. A team that has one win or fewer. I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts. I said I'd like to sign in with Matt Ryan there earlier. He had a good game this past weekend against the Kansas City Chiefs. Jonathan Taylor's going to get going. That defense going to get going a little bit here soon. So I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts as a team with one win or fewer to make it, and the Bears as a team with two wins or more to not make the playoffs.
Okay. Well, since you just got called out, Brock, here's your chance to answer back.
Well, my team that I think has one win right now is obviously the team that's right here, the Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously not a great performance last week, but context matters in these situations. Everyone thought Chase Daniels was going to be the starter for that game. It was even reported that they announced in the stadium that Chase Daniels was going to start. I would say I got the alert on the phone that Herbert was starting maybe 10 minutes before kickoff. So that does change the dynamic of things. And then you got to look at who's coming back. Obviously, Bosa's on IR. Slater is on out for the season as well. But a lot of teams are losing top players for the season. That just happens in the NFL. But they get Keenan Allen back. They get J.C. Jackson back. And if you look over the course of that Jaguars game, they were holding the Jaguars to field goals on multiple situations. That means that they have an excellent defense and they can hold teams. You look at the Kansas City game, if they don't go no huddle and they score that touchdown that instead of the pick six, that's a completely different ball game there. They look very impressive against the Raiders on the defense side of the ball. And then when you're able to finally kind of work through that rib injury and understand the feeling that you get and how to adjust to your throws, you're going to come out more firing. So I expect a big game against Houston, and they have a fairly easier schedule than they had for the first big games of the season. So that's why they're my team that's going to make the playoffs. And then what was the second part of that question, Bill?
And then pick a team that has two or more wins that you believe will not make the playoffs.
Oh, okay. So y'all gonna hate on me for this one, but I'm gonna go with I'm good. It's not the Vikings. I'm actually gonna go with the Super Bowl champions, the Los Angeles Rams. Their defense definitely took a step back from last year. Atlanta played them very close. Obviously, Buffalo smoked them out of the building. They weren't really that impressive on the road against the Cardinals. They're playing a Niners team that has had fair amount of success because they run the ball so effectively on them. When you look at a defensive line outside of Aaron Donald, who is that second guy that can step up for them like Von Miller did last year? Leonard Floyd has proven that he's not really that player. He does what he does, but he's not a game changer. The linebacker core, Bobby Wagner is there, but we don't exactly know if that's going to be an effective long-term solution, especially as the season goes on. They do have Troy Hill. Jalen Ramsey hasn't looked up to par to start up this season, though he did have the game-clinching interception against Atlanta. I just don't really see how they turn it around. Allen Robinson hasn't been used as we expected him to. I think Ben Skowronek has more targets than Allen Robinson. And I think that's just because Matt Stafford sees him when he thinks it's Cooper Kupp, right? He's only targeting Cooper Kupp. Cam Akers is slowly starting to get going, but we don't exactly know if that knee is going to hold up. The offensive line is an absolute mess right now. They're hurting without Whitworth. Joe Noteboom is not an effective left tackle. That's been pretty evident. And when they face the better pass rushers in the NFL, they will falter, and that's why I expect the Rams to miss the playoffs.
Okay. And, well, I guess once again, we're going back to the Steves. So we'll go with our duty-free captain, Steve Rogers.
Yes. So I'll keep it short. I've got a set of teams: the Steelers, Bengals, and the Colts. So I think I'll have a chance at clinching one of the wild card spots from the AFC. And I'll keep it also short and stick with the to keep it a little spicy. I think the Lions will actually make a wild card spot along with the Saints and Cardinals that I believe are still strong enough to as well to take wild card spots from where they sit at 1 and 2 currently. On the flip side, my two winning teams that are going to miss the playoffs, and here's where I really have my shots to fire as well. I am aiming directly across the border at Wisconsin. I do not believe Green Bay has what it takes throughout this long of a season, and with the level of talent that's across the NFC, I don't think they can get the job done. In fact, I think the Jaguars have a better chance at being a higher seed and better record than Green Bay, and Green Bay is already one game behind us. So have fun from the rear view.
Okay. And take it on home from Steve Atkinson.
All right, so the team that I picked that that has one or fewer wins that will make the playoffs, I'm going to take a chance and go with the Raiders because, you have all this talent. You have Josh McDaniels. There is no excuse. You're trying to get back on the map, right? You build that nice new stadium. I think they find a way to get it together. And at least if you're not going to win the division, probably, but at least win the wild card, get a wild card spot at least. So I'm going to go with the Raiders. And the team that has 2 wins that might not make the playoffs, I'm going to go with the Ravens just because Lamar Jackson's great. But you take away some of those interceptions that Mac Jones had on Sunday, and the Patriots are in that game, if not winning that game. And, so I'm going to go with the Ravens, that a team that will probably not make the playoffs this year, just because the AFC is also very loaded too with talent.
Okay. I'm going to stick with you, Steve Atkinson. Tell me pick one of the games in this upcoming week that you're going to call your shot on as an upset. A team that is, not the favorite that you believe will win. And then as it's a 2-parter, and also give me your MVP to this point of the season. Obviously, it doesn't have to, we don't care what happens after, but from the beginning of the season to this point, who is your MVP so far?
Okay. So the first part of that question, I'm going to go with the same prediction I had last week. Sorry, man. I'm going to go with Jacksonville. Again, I think they pulled the upset again. I think Jacksonville is the real deal. Again, when you get coaching that knows what they're doing, and from a second-year quarterback, it's taking that second-year leap like Joe Burrow did with Trevor Lawrence. That's what you want in a young quarterback. And then my MVP so far this season is Josh Allen. Again, funny how things work when you get a talented wide receiver, an offensive coach, all of those things. It's funny that Bill Belichick should take a note out of what all these other coaches are doing and get some talent So, yes, I'm going to go with Josh Allen as the MVP so far and Jacksonville with the upset.
I'm almost tempted to ask you to point somewhere on the screen where Bill Belichick hurt you. Okay, so that brings us now
I listen to sports radio too much in Boston. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I understand. I
listen to Felger and Maz every day. They're like negative.
I get it. No, trauma's a real thing, and I recognize it. And I honor your
their Super Bowl rings. They count the decades in between when they happened.
Yes. Well, that brings us to, you know what? I'm going to shake it up. I'm going to break up the Steve block. We're going to go to Melo, my man. Same question to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. The game that I'm paying attention to this week is going to be since he said the Jags over the Eagles, I'm going to go down to Houston and go with the Texans over the Chargers.
Oh, get out.
Lovie Smith and the Texans, they've been in the game all 3 weeks. They've been in the game, just haven't closed out necessarily, so I believe that this is going to be the week that they're going to upset the land and get them a win. MVP, I'm going with Lamar Jackson. I just love what he's been doing. He took that one bad loss to Miami. If that loss didn't happen, if 2 of them didn't play out of their mind in the second half and fought back, and our Baltimore defense could have made a stop, Lamar Jackson would be 3-0 heading into week 4 against Josh Allen. So Lamar Jackson is my MVP.
Well, I obviously have to go to you, Brock, to follow that. So once again, call your shot with an upset and then give us your MVP to this point in the season.
So whoever's playing the Steelers is probably going to win. But that's not my pick. My pick is actually the Raiders over the Broncos.
Shots fired.
Well, I mean, it's not shots when it's fast, but moving on. Raiders over the Broncos. I think the Raiders get it done this weekend against McDaniel's former team. Like I said, Hackett's a hack. All right. I've never heard of a head coach have to hire a head coach. Who does that? Honestly, who does that? Oh, I can't handle managing the game, so let me hire someone who can manage the game so I can go back to my old job, which is calling plays. I'm not really good at that either, right? So I think the Raiders get it done. I think Waller's going to come out. He's going to be hungry. I think Renfro's going to be able to hold the ball. I think Carr's going to be able to get the ball out a lot quicker, even though Chubb and Gregory have been coming. I think they're going to run the ball more with Josh Jacobs. I think they have a more balanced offense. They get points up early and kind of coast to maybe like a 21-17 win. And then my MVP for the season, it has to be Josh Allen. I mean, you look at what he's done. His numbers are phenomenal. Obviously, he does have Stephon Diggs, but his ball distribution has been phenomenal as well. Getting the ball to Gabe Davis, their fullback, I can't remember his name. Obviously, Devin Singletary, Dawson Knox, so on and so forth. He's an effective runner, can make every pass. He blew up the Super Bowl champions. It was a tough game in Miami. It's just one game. He absolutely smoked the number 1 seed of the AFC last year, which was Tennessee. They were in Buffalo for that. So there's not really anything you can say of why he isn't the MVP. I'm not going to put one bad game on him. It wasn't even a bad game. He led the NFL in passing for that week, 400 yards. Also, shout out Josh Allen. Won my bet. I took the over on you on passing yards. You hit it by like the end of the third quarter. So he's the clear MVP in my opinion. And the Raiders will be the Broncos. And, the Houston over the Chargers, that's another overreaction. But we can talk about that another time.
I mean, Bill, may I just ask, who is Lamar Jackson throwing the ball to?
Okay, so this
Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews.
Devin Duvernay's looking pretty good.
Pro Bowler Devin Duvernay.
Pretty sure J.K. Dobbins is on the way back to the field.
Okay, so you know what? Another time. We will have this debate another time. I appreciate your passion, all of you. And I think I almost forgot Steve, the other Steve. Wait, did everybody? Yeah, I forgot Steve. Right?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, okay. There we go. Steve, please bring us up.
Maybe Mike Zimmer would still have a job if he tried the Hackett theory. Anyway, I guess moving on.
Bang.
Damn.
I have a couple of options I'm kind of waffling between on my prediction.
Choose the one that you like the most.
I see. I'm torn because I kind of think Lamar Jackson is going to have a career game this week against Buffalo, and they're technically an underdog in this game, I believe. So I kind of want to go there and call that shot, but I think the bigger upset will be the Commanders taking out the Cowboys during the week somehow. I'm not exactly sure why I feel like it, but I think Cowboys are due to stub their toe, and I think the Commanders are the team to do it.
All right. And your MVP to this point in the season is?
Oh, my MVP. I mean, it's a toss-up again, juggling three quarterbacks. It's between Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and of course on my fantasy team, my starter Josh Allen. So, yeah, I think it could be any one of those three, and just toss a card and pick one. That's where I'm at.
So I think it's interesting that at least a couple of people mentioned Tua and or Josh Allen. Not Tua. I mean, mentioned Josh Allen and or Lamar Jackson. And the quarterback, of course, who handed each of those guys a loss, Tua never comes up. But yeah, whatever. Let's have fun with it.
Cooper Rush can throw a 5-yard slap late. Tua has
Yes. Well, let's get ready for the fourth quarter, gentlemen. This is the moment that literally all of America has waited for. And I will say, as always, it's tough. And Brock, I think you may have gotten a little overconfident this week. I think you may have, maybe let your early success go to your head. You had some strong moments. You really did. But, some few slip-ups. And then you went into like a 4 quarters offense there where you held the ball for a little longer than I would have preferred. And you also let a little spicy language slip. Just trying to keep it a family-friendly show. But that brings it down to like Melo, Steve, and Steve. All of you, for the most part, did a solid job. Melo, once again, you also got a flag thrown at you earlier for not following directions. That leaves us 2 Steves. Whew. It's tight. You know what? This is very close, but I'm going to say, I'm going to let the man wearing the crown of pain. Maybe this will help to take it down a level. Maybe this will be a balm that will soothe your soul, Steve Atkinson, because I can feel your pain. I can hear your pain in your voice on the show. You were right there, Steve Rogers. Steve, you're right there. Steve, both Steves, you're right there. But Steve Atkinson, maybe this will put a smile on your face. You, sir, are today's winner. Take your victory lap.
Thanks, man. So yeah, it's I don't mean to be negative. Maybe I'm listening to Felger and Maz too much on the Sports Hub, but it's just, Bill Belichick had a press conference today and he's asked about Mac Jones's injury and he's answering the question day by day like 12 times, like it's 20 years ago when Tom Brady's still here and you're winning championships. You're not winning championships anymore. You have a quarterback who's in his second year. You have a defensive coordinator turned offensive coordinator. You got Joe Judge coaching the quarterback, who's special teams back in 2017, whatever it was. It's a mess. It's a mess. And around here, it's like I said last week, Bill Belichick, around here. People want him on the hot seat. It's crazy. I know it's crazy, but Tom Brady went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020 and won a Super Bowl, and the Patriots went 7-9 with Cam Newton. And they missed the playoffs, and then they were forced to draft Mac. Mac Jones fell to them, and they didn't. I'm not going to say Bill Belichick wanted Mac Jones. He was there at 15. Kraft's in the draft room. He's like, well, you got to draft a quarterback. So, okay, fine. We'll get Mac Jones. And they went to the 10-7 and went to the playoffs. And they got smacked by the Bills. So, and, it's just this team. I'm very passionate about the Patriots. And I grew up on the winning and stuff. So, I'm not used to this change.
We're all here for you, Steve. Just know that. We're all here for you. This is a safe space. Except maybe Brock's space may not be as safe, but for most part, it's a safe space.
Come here, buddy. You and your 6 rings. Come on.
Yes, maybe you can wipe all the Super Bowl rings. Oh, ladies, gentlemen, everyone who somehow made it through to watch this show, I can only thank you so very much. We will do this again. Brock, don't make me have to wash your mouth out with soap, but we will all do this again in 1 week.